Hi guys, I know I shouldn't be doing an awful lot of smithing, but now I've got my operation date for my wrist and I've had a pain-killing injection. I thought, sod it, I'm going to do a little bit because I've had an order for these couple of candle holders. So whilst the pain is not quite so bad, I'm going to get on and do it. So what we need to start with is 4 horseshoes, 2 quite big ones and 2 quite small ones. So first job, we've got to knock out the nails. So start off by bending them back up straight, because when I take the shoes off I always knock the nails over, back down sort of 90 degrees, so that no one can stand on them, either the horse or myself or anybody else that happens to be around, because I usually take them off, knock the nails down and then just chuck them sort of towards the truck. So it's just a safety thing really. So we'll knock them out, which sometimes is easier than others. This time it's being a bit of a pain. Alright, once we've got the nails out, I just want to bang the clips down, because we don't need them now. You could cut them off, but it's just as easy just to bang them down. Once they're hot, we can bang them down quite nicely. Right, so let me do the others. I won't bore you with that, I'll just quickly do that. Alright, so we've got them nails out and they're in the fire, warming up nicely. And what we want to do with the first one, these are the big ones, we want to turn them into a complete circle. So it shouldn't be too difficult. Just work them round. Close them up a bit. Fairly straightforward. Doesn't matter if you sort of muller them a bit. It's all adds to the character of the final product. Well, that's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. You want to take your time. You want to get them pretty accurate if you can, because it'll look nicer in the end if they are actually round, or roundish. Nearly there, I think. Just a little bit more. Because these were quarter clip front shoes, they're a bit of an odd shape to start with, so not quite as straightforward. But I hadn't got any other big ones that weren't quarter clipped, so we're just having to make do. So there you go. That's the first one, turned into a circle-ish. It's good enough. So I'm just going to let that one cool down and get on with the next one. Same process. Usually if I've got an order for some of these, I try and make a batch at a time, sort of 10, because you can just load the fire up the shoes, and if you're got your fire set right and your timing right, you can just do one straight after the other, after the other, after the other. You don't have no hanging about. And when I was an apprentice, when we were making shoes, before I could make shoes, when I was a real early apprentice, that was my job as the fireman. I had to stand there and control the forge and judge how quickly my master was working. So I heated the shoes up, so as soon as he put one back on the fire, or threw it at me really, he just sort of chucked it on the side of the fire, the next one was ready to come out. That was the fireman's job, and woe betide you if they weren't hot enough. I'm getting there. Almost there. Don't think it's quite as good as the last one, but not far off. That'll do. Pretty much like a circle. Let that one cool. We can get straight on with the little ones because they've been getting warm while I've been doing that first one. Or first two, should I say. Right, what we want to do with these, we want to open them up because we basically want a straight bit of bar to start with. You know, you could use a new bit of shoeing steel, but that's not the point. You know, you want to do it out of old shoes. But we want a straight bit. So, it doesn't really matter how you get it straight. It doesn't have to be the whole shoe, but it's probably near as damn it most of the shoe. And we want to start tapering one end. Bring it down to a reasonably small point, smaller than that, but it's gone a bit cold now. Get the next one out, and that's the thing, as I say, when you're doing a batch, just crack on one after the other. And I guess that's one of the reasons I've got bad hands and bad shoulders, or have had. I have had my shoulders fixed, although it's not permanent, but it will last hopefully. And now I know what, there you go, do the same with that one. The sort of treatment is that I'm going to need on my shoulders. I can have it done regularly. It's only chiropractic. My hands are giving me a bit of jip. Just chiropractic treatment on the shoulders, and then once I've got this operation done on the wrist, we should be back up and running. Just use the big hammer for a minute or two. Just pull that down nice and thin. See if we can see it a bit better from this angle. Brought you up a bit. This is the other one. You can see how my anvil's taking the concussion of that hammer. That's the only disadvantage of making the anvil quiet, is because I'm taking some of the rebound out of it. You get people saying, oh, you're losing all your force, but I don't care. I don't want to be sitting with an anvil ringing all day. But there you go. I'm not working the fire very well because it's not hot enough yet, so I'm going to have to twiddle my thumbs for a second. Right, go back to the little hammer because we're nearly there. Just want to even it all out. I say it doesn't have to be perfect, because it adds to the charm, but you want it somewhere near, and that's about what we want. Get the next one ready. Just tidy this one up. This one's nearly there as well. draw it out to a fairly fine point. It's like with all this forge work, I always say it, try and keep it somewhere near level and straight. Just makes life a lot easier than trying to straighten it all up again after you've mullered it a bit. Right, so I just want to put a little curl on this one. Just a little hook on the end. Very simple. Just like that. Nothing fancy. Just a little decoration. See if we can get you a bit closer to the action. Do the same on the other one. Simple as that. Nothing to it. There you go. So nothing too fancy. Now what we've got to do is bend it the other way. Or is it the same way? I can't remember. I really have to think about this. I've just cooled the end out. That's it, yeah, bend it the same way a little bit. You want to get a sort of a nice sort of sweep on it, and then you've got to go back the other way. It's a bit cold really, so I think I'm going to have to get that hot again. Yeah, just tidy it up. Yeah, I'm going to get that hot again because you want to come back round quite a lot, so you don't want to damage the bit you've already started. Let's see if the other one's ready. Not quite. There we go. No. Yep, just cooled that out. And now I've made a balls up there. I've done that the wrong way. You wally. Yep, checked it with the other one. Yeah, it's the wrong way, so I just need to straighten it out again. And then we'll get it hot and I'll go back the other way. Told you I can never remember which way I was supposed to do it. In the meantime, that's the first one again. I just want to pull it round. And you've got to try and do it without damaging the bit you've already done, or straightening out the other bit. And you've got to be careful where the clip is there. It's obviously a bit weaker, so it tends to pull around quicker or easier, so you get sort of like a flat spot. So you've got to be careful when you're pulling around where the clip was. Just pay a bit more attention to that bit. You can see the sort of thing we need to do. Just cool that one out again, the tip, and do it the same way this time. Cool it out a bit more and just start it off, but again that one's gone a bit cold. So we get that warm again. Just continue pulling it round. Now I will have to straighten out the bit I'm holding on to. I should have made the bar a bit straighter when I first straightened it out, but I didn't quite know how much I was going to need. We're getting there. And so when you're doing a batch, you just keep popping one out after another, and you sort of get into a bit of a rhythm, and you end up making them almost identical, because you're just knocking one out after another, and you're doing the same movement time after time. Yeah, you see, I'm going to have to straighten this bit because it's coming round too much. So I should have done that in the first place. I was just being lazy. Thought I could get away with it. I didn't think I was going to need as much as I do. So again, just pull the other one round. Yeah, so when you're doing lots of things, doing one after another, you do get into a rhythm, and yeah, straighten this one as well. A technique, and you find that it becomes natural. You find your natural shape, how you hit it in particular places each time. So that ends up as your norm, as it were. Right, that should be warm again now. Let's just see if we can straighten that out. Let's pull it out. So I should have done it in the first place. Can't quite work out what I'm up to. Straighten it out on the end. Won't quite go over the edge, but there you go. Right, so that's a bit better. So now we can carry on pulling the other bit round until it meets the bit I've just straightened. Do the same with this one. Doesn't really matter how you straighten it, as long as you straighten it. Got it. Again, so I can carry on pulling that one round. So, hand's giving me a bit of jip. They've taken away the pain a little bit with this injection, but the numbness and the like pins and needles is still there. It's allowing me to sleep, but it's still uncomfortable. Right, carry on pulling it round. It may seem that I'm taking a lot of time doing this, but I want to get it right. It's easier to take a bit of time and get it right than try and put it right after you've made a balls up. If you get a big flat in it, or it's too tight or not tight enough, it's much harder to pull it out and start again than if you just take your time. And that's what we're looking for. That sort of, I don't know what you'd call it, shepherd's crook type. Just take the sharp edges off. Right, that's what we're looking for, something like that. See if we can do the same with the other one, with any luck. Let's have a change of view. Oh, that's the other thing these pins and needles and this numbness in the hand does. I know some of it's probably the tongs don't fit very well, but I do end up dropping a lot of stuff at the moment. Luckily it's not usually my glass. There you go, you can see it's getting there. That's about it, I think. That's what we're after again. See, that looks pretty similar to the last one. Oh, dropped it again. Again, just take the edges off. A little bit smoother. Dropped it again. I have to give this job up. Right, well I think that's it for the forging. So we've got all our components, or no, some of our components. Yeah, it's still a bit warm. So whilst this lot cool down, we'll go and get on with the next component. Okay, so the other thing we're going to need is some circles. Now I've already cut them out. No, I haven't. I've already marked them out. I don't know if you can see it. Probably can't. And it's pretty thin. I think it's a Zintec. It's like zinc coated. Only using it because that's all I've got. But they're about 5 3/4 inches in diameter. The circles. We need a couple of them. So I'm just going to whip a couple of them out. See if I can follow the line. My little hand shear. And I've literally just got this one bolt in one corner through the Pritchell hole in the anvil. I haven't really got any room to have it permanently mounted anywhere. It's a blooming handy little tool, but takes up a little bit of room, but it's perfect when it's mounted up here on the anvil. If I had a bigger shop, I'd have it on a proper stand, so I could use it much more easily without having to keep getting it out from under the bench and bolt it down. Alright, that's the first one. A nice little circle. It's not 100%, but it's good enough for this job because it's going to be trimmed down again anyway. Let's see if we can show you doing the other one from a slightly different angle. Now you can see where it's marked out there a bit better on that one. You might wonder why I'm cutting the corners off first rather than just going at it. Because you're pulling around in a circle, you want the bit you're cutting off to move away, because you're pulling it sort of out towards yourself. And if you leave a lot of thickness the other side of the line, it's just that much harder to pull. So that's the simple answer to that. Just trim off roughly towards your line, and it makes trimming it accurately, or more accurately, that much easier. There you go, second one. All done. So now the fun bit. We get to use the fly press. Now, I've made this tool up. That's just a bit of, I'm not sure it's 2 or 2.5 inch tube. And then this is a 4-inch pipe flange threaded through the middle. And that's another one. But I've machined off most of the flange. You can see it's almost flat. It's just left a little tiny bit. Still left a thread in it, but it's just left a little tiny lip there. And that's what I use to do the gripping. The bottom one is bolted into the fly press. 2 good hefty bolts. Simply drop the tin, and it is quite thin. I'm not sure. It must be probably 0.6 or 0.8 maybe. 0.6 maybe, I'm not sure. But it's pretty thin. Drop the plate on top, which for some reason doesn't want to go. Maybe I've got it in the wrong holes. Anyway, do up the rest of the bolts. Comes in handy when you can use both hands. That one's a bit tight. And then tweak them up. Do them sort of in turn so you don't pull down in one corner too much. I'm going to pull it down fairly square. Let's get this up out of the way. a little bit so we can see what we're up to. Tighten them down. Doesn't have to be horrendously tight, but you want to grip the tin so it's tight like a drum. And just give it a bit of welly. Just pushing down right in the middle. So it's a bit of tube, it's not solid, doesn't need to be solid. And that should be about it. It's all done by eye. I have done it too far and it's split the steel because it can only stretch so far. So you have to be careful and whip it out. Yeah, I think I've got this on the wrong holes for some reason, or one of the threads has got bent. It doesn't want to come off very easily. It normally comes off very easily. I think I've somehow got it mismatched. There we go. And that's what you end up with. A little tray, like a saucer. And Bob is your uncle, as they say. So let's quickly do the second one. See if this one goes any easier. Put it on a different way around this time. Yeah, look at that. Drop straight on. So it mismatched. Try and get the bolts on. I made this up many years ago, this tool. I know I think I did a video on the demo of the fly press, and I don't actually think I showed you this tool. It's sort of been chucked under the bench and forgotten about for a while until I decide to make these or get an order for them. I usually make a load around Christmas. They're great Christmas presents. My wife sells them around the local shops and schools and whoever wants them. Right, give it some beans again. As I say, you don't want to go too mad because it will split if you're not careful. You can see the fly press is moving the bench about quite a lot. The bench really wants bolting to the floor, but another one of those jobs you don't get round to. When you use the fly press a lot, if you're really giving it beans, the bench moves itself across the floor. You have to get the big crowbar under it and put it back in place. Right, nearly there. There we go, that's better. And there's your second one. Another nice little tray. Good stuff. So let's just put this back so we don't lose the nuts. And that'll come off there in a minute. Right, so next job is to match the two together. The circular shoe with the bases. And you can see they don't match, and so I want to trim that off. Oh, excuse me, the battery's just about to die on the camera. Right, sorry about that, just had to change the battery. Right, yeah, as I was saying, the shoes are a little bit smaller than the dish, so I'm just going to mark them with a scriber and just quickly trim them off. Doesn't have to be particularly accurate because they will get ground up afterwards, but it's easier for the welding if they're fairly close. Right, so I've got them trimmed up. Literally just went round them with a scriber and whipped the edges off with my shear, just to get them somewhere close. I'm just going to stick them in the vise. Make sure you don't grab grab only the lip and not the bit that's pushed out, otherwise you'll make a bit of a mess of it. And then we're just going to tack it. I'm just going to put a couple of tacks. Move my grips. Not hundreds of tacks, I only probably need, I don't know, 6 or 7 around here. It's just to secure the base to the shoe. And as it's at the end of the day, it's not going to get horrendous use, you know, wear and tear. So a few tacks. I could probably actually do less tacks or smaller tacks, but just one of those things, you know. Do about 3/8 of an inch tack, I suppose, on each one. Oh, bugger. That wasn't planned. I think that must be almost there. Must be almost back to the beginning. The grips are just making sure it's nice and tight to the shoe. The shoe's not always 100% level. And I think that's about it on that one. Or is it? No, it looks like one more. I don't know how many I put on there then. But there you go. Just put, oh, I don't know how many tacks I put around there, but enough, plenty. And I'm just going to run around it with the grinder. The old flap disc. Get it untangled. Got a bird's nest on the floor. Well, actually it's better doing it that way up, because when you're doing the tin, it's better to grind downwards towards the shoe. You get a better edge. If you grind the other way up, it can pull the tin away from the shoe as it catches it, but if you do it this way up, it's pulling it down towards the shoe all the time. Plus you can get the top of the weld or the underside of the weld, flatten that off as well. Just tidies it up, brings everything flush. There's no sharp edges. Obviously people are going to be handling these. You don't want any sharp edges or ugly welds. That's just about it. There you go. It's a bit warm. It's tidied that up nicely. Those won't show quite so badly once it's all been cleaned up. But that's your starting point. That's your base done. So now we've got to put the handle on, which is going to go in the join. So it sort of semi-hides it. Okay, so we've got both the bases done. We've got our handles. Now we need to work out how much to cut off. Now I want the hook, this bit, to touch the floor virtually, or if it will touch the floor. Just gives it a bit more stability. So I'm just going to measure from there down and work out how much I've got to cut off there. And then that's going to go on like so. So let's find a tape measure. I know I've got one here somewhere. Oh yeah, there it is. Other side of the camera. Alright, so that's about 20mm under there. No, it's not, it's about 18mm. They're both about the same. So I'm just going to mark down from, or up from the base. Just mark the base first, the bottom. Mark up from there, 18mm. So it doesn't have to be particularly accurate, but if you can get it accurate, all the better. As you probably know, most of my stuff's near enough's good enough. Some people think that's a fault, but hey ho. If I wasn't near enough good enough, I'd be an engineer, not a blacksmith. Right, so I'm going to cut that second line. That's where we need to trim it down to. Get it up in the vise. Oh, I've got my hacksaw. I'm just going to trim off the excess. Now that might seem an obvious thing to state when you're using a hacksaw, but the amount of people I see using a hacksaw that don't use the whole blade, they use a couple of inches in the middle. Right, there we go. Got it cut off, and I made a balls up. I needed to measure to the top of the shoe, not the underneath. Plonker. So it wants to go on top like that. So I've got to cut a bit more off the thickness of the shoe. Never mind. At least I didn't cut too much off. I can always cut more off, but you have a job to put it back on. Tidily anyway. So whip another about 3/8 off. Yeah, I was saying with the hacksaw, see I'm going for the whole length of the blade. So that you see people nadgering backwards and forwards and using about 3 inches in the middle. You end up with a knackered blade in the middle and nothing, and perfectly alright each end. Right, there you go, that's better. That's how I wanted it. So that's on the top, the hook's on the floor. We've got to weld that on there. So I'm just going to quickly do the other one, because I've made a balls up on both. And 3/8 off of that one. There we go. Right. That's, yep, just what we're looking for. So let's get them tacked up. Okay. Again, just going to do it by eye. Hold it in place so that the hook's on the floor. Give it a tack. Perfect. Look at that. Lovely jubbly. Do the same with the other one. And if you do it with the join, it just hides the join. Makes it a bit more symmetrical as well. Look at that. Lovely. So let's weld them up proper. Okay, just a quick run along the bottom there. Same the other side. And then I'm just going to put one inside just to finish off the top edge or the bottom edge. Okay, do the same with the other one. Start with the other side because it's tacked the other side. That's stuck to the bench. And then again, just on the inside. Lovely, all done. Super duper. So, what are we got to do now? I think we've got to clean them up a bit. Get all the bits and pieces out. There's a few spots of weld in there. Clean up all the blackness, soot and dirt. And I'm going to put some, in one of them I'm going to put a spike, and in the other one I'm going to put a candle holder of like a tube. So they're going to be two slightly different ones. So we're going to go back to the fly press to make one of the tubes. Now this tool I made up years ago just for this job. I don't know if you can see if the camera will focus. It's got like a radius, a slow radius. I've got about 3 different sizes of these, and it just pushes onto the end of the tube and flares the end out. Sorry it's not focusing very well, but it's really dark over in this corner of the workshop. The camera doesn't like it very much, but I think you'll get the gist of what I'm doing. Let's put that underneath. It's not square, try and get it square, otherwise your flare goes off to one side. That's still not square, but it's squarish. And then just give it a few little blows, and there you go. Just flares the top out, just finishes him off nicely. Just makes him look a little bit more, I don't know. I've got some more here that I did ages ago for some other candle holder, some little ones. Again, even though it's not focused, you get the idea. And then this one welded or soldered to a washer, and then that goes onto a little bit of bar. No, it's not going to focus, is it? But anyway, I think you get the idea. It's no, it's not going to focus. It's not having it. But it's welded onto a penny washer. Oh, focused right at the end. Anyway, that's made the upright. Now, so I'm just going to clean these up with a wire brush before I go too far. Otherwise, it's much easier to clean them up before you put the holders in, because you can get right inside, as you can see, with the wire brush. And these shoes, because they're old, you get all sorts of muck in the fullering, so you can get most of it out with the wire brush. Getting some of it, you know, adds to the character, but you don't want it so full that it's going to start dropping out on people's tables. So get the worst of it out. And also this wire brush, it smooths the edges off. You get real nice smooth edges when you use it on sharp edges of a shoe. Just makes it all nice, much nicer to hold on to. Turn it upside down, do the other one, or the other side. On the hook. It doesn't clean it up, you know, bright and shiny. It takes the dullness off, gives sort of a satin finish to it. And when you go around the edges where the welds were, it sort of fades them in as well. Just makes it all look a little bit neater. So that's a bit better. See, taken all the scale off. So now what I'm going to try and do is the soldering. I'll put it up in the vise as level as I can so that the solder doesn't run sort of too far off the middle. I put a little dob of flux in the middle. I've got my solder, which is just some solder that we melted into some angle iron years ago. I've got sticks and sticks and sticks of it. Just going to heat it from underneath. This torch is a little bit fierce for it really, but there you go. Then I'm just going to drop that on top. And there you can see it just went then. Just make sure it's actually got it. And I also put some flux around the bottom of the holder piece, just so that the solder would actually run onto it. I'm just blowing on this to try and cool it off, just to make sure it's got it before I take it out the vise. I think that's got it. Yep, that's got it. That's not going anywhere. So we take that out. Yep, got it. There you go. A little sort of wee willy winky type candle holder for the traditional ordinary household candles, or even fancy candles, whatever you like. And then this one, I'm going to do the same, but I'm going to put a copper nail in to the bottom of this one, so you can put like a stubby fat candle in. Just push it onto the candle, onto the nail. Same process, warm it up from underneath. Dob of solder. There we go. And put the copper nail on. It won't seem to stay where it wants to be. Oh no, it's moving. This this isn't particularly level, this shoe. So it's trying to run across the solder. I'm not sure if that's actually got it. Just going to try and make sure it's in place. Hold it down. I think that's got it, I'm not sure. Didn't look horrendously good, that one. Didn't look like it ran how I wanted it to. No, bugger, didn't think it had. Right, take two. Let's start this one again. Just that copper rivet, or nail, beg your pardon, is very hot. So just try and find a pair of pliers, pick it up and start again. Right, found my pliers. Let's get the solder hot again. Just dab in the rivet in a bit more flux. I'm just going to put a little bit more solder on there. I think that's half the problem. There wasn't quite enough solder. It tinned the... That's better. Tinned the bottom, but wasn't quite enough to grab onto the rivet. No, I keep saying rivet. It's a nail. It's a nail. That's better. Oh, bugger. Try again. Make sure it's got it this time. I think that has got it this time. Let's cool it off. Not quite as pretty as I'd like it. Went from not enough solder to too much. I think that's got it this time. Yeah, that's got it. Right, so I'm just going to clean them up with a bit of meths, get that flux residue out, and then we'll give it a quick coat of clear coat and take them home. Right, I've clear coated them, brought them home, stuck a candle in. You could use these big tall fancy ones or an ordinary little stubby white one, you know, the household candles. But I think you'll agree they look quite nice. Must admit they do sell quite well. People do seem to like them. Unfortunately, can't find a little stubby fat candle to put in this one, but you get the idea. You can have a little short dumpy sort of 2-inch candle in there. Stuck on that nail. It's a nail. Anyway, thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.